in the early 1970s. The program aimed to develop a high-speed bomber similar to the B-58 Hustler and capable of carrying a large weapons payload like the B-52 Stratofortress. The B-1 program was initiated in the 1960s but was delayed by the emergence of the F-111 medium-range tactical bomber. However, when President Richard Nixon took office, he decided to reduce the number of F-111s because they lacked range and flexibility. At that time, the B-1 program was reactivated. The initial version, the B-1A, was designed in the mid-1970s to meet the U.S. Air Force's needs for a high-altitude, high-speed nuclear bomber with a top speed of over 2,500 kilometers per h. However, only 4 B-1A aircraft were built before President Jimmy Carter canceled the project in June 1977. But in October 1981, it was restarted by President Ronald Reagan with significant changes, leading to the birth of the Bone B-1B Lancer. The B-1B was optimized for low-level penetration missions and featured various improvements to reduce its radar cross-section. Although it no longer achieved the original top speed of 2,500 kilometers per h, it could fly at a maximum speed of 1,100 kilometers per h at altitudes below 150 meters, with significantly improved survivability compared to the B-1A. A total of 100 B-1B aircraft were produced between 1983 and 1988. In October 1986, the first one was officially commissioned into the U.S. Air Force. From that point on, it became the U.S.'s largest payload strategic bomber, with dimensions of 44.5 meters in length, 10.4 meters in height, and an empty weight of 87.1 tons. The B-1B utilized a swing-wing design to improve takeoff and landing capabilities and reduce drag when flying at low altitudes. Its wingspan could vary from 42 meters when fully swept to 24 meters when fully extended. The aircraft was equipped with 4 General Electric F-101 GE-102 afterburning turbofan engines providing thrust to achieve a maximum speed of 1,340 kilometers per h at 12,000 meters or 1,100 kilometers per h at just 150 meters above the ground. Its maximum range was 9,400 kilometers, though it would be reduced to 5,545 kilometers when carrying its maximum weapon load. These B-1B aircraft were created to replace the strategic bombing role of the B-52 Stratofortress Flying Fortress. In December 1998, 7 years after the first Gulf War's final shots, U.S. airmen were once again tasked with combat operations over Iraqi skies, marking the B-1B Lancer's first combat mission. After many years of development, cancellations, and revivals, it finally had the opportunity to demonstrate its capabilities. On December 17, 1998, 2 B-1Bs flew into Iraqi airspace and were warned about 3 enemy anti-aircraft positions along their flight path. Iraqi anti-aircraft fire lit up the sky in an attempt to bring down the B-1B over their heads. As the bombers approached their targets, the bomb bay doors were quickly opened and dozens of 225 kilograms bombs were dropped on the target before the aircraft banked and returned home. It wasn't until the next day that the crew learned that their mission was successful. This marked the beginning of a new era for the B-1B Lancer, which expanded its role beyond its initial purpose as a nuclear strike aircraft. Following the signing of the Strategic Arms Reduction Treaty, START 1 in 1995, all B-1Bs were denuclearized, but they continued to be perceived as nuclear-capable aircraft for many years. The removal of their nuclear role allowed the B-1B to become a more versatile conventional bomber. Addition of externally mounted targeting pods by Lockheed Martin enabled the B-1B to use modern precision-guided munitions, enhancing its combat capabilities. Unlike the freefall bombs dropped during its first combat mission in Desert Storm, the B-1B now had the capability to deliver laser-guided bombs with pinpoint accuracy. The combination of reconnaissance and precise strike capabilities made this aircraft a valuable asset in long-range combat missions from Iraq to Syria. With the ability to linger over target areas for hours, the B-1B provided real-time reconnaissance information to command centers and ground troops. Technological advancements allowed the Lancer to conduct strikes through externally mounted sensor pods, opening the door for the aircraft to attack with laser targeting systems on the ground or employ precision-guided munitions with only a few meters of error. The integration of surveillance and accurate attack capabilities turned this aircraft into a favorite asset in long-range combat support missions. While the B-1B Lancer currently serves as both a strategic bomber and a nuclear deterrent, its operational costs have limited its active combat duties in recent years. Technical issues have been a long-standing concern, and the Air Force has recognized that continuous support activities for B-1B aircraft over 20 years have taken a toll on the airframe. The aircraft have been extensively used in military campaigns, performing thousands of sorties primarily in the Middle East, where the climate is not conducive to their design. To extend their lifespan, the U.S. Air Force has decided to retire a number of B-1B aircraft, prioritizing investment in the remaining 45 aircraft while enhancing training for personnel. The unique climate conditions in Arizona, with low humidity and dry heat, are expected to help preserve the aircraft. These aircraft will undergo retirement and preservation procedures, including draining fuel, sealing all openings to prevent dust and wildlife intrusion, and applying heat-reflecting coatings to protect their internal components. With such preservation conditions, the U.S. Air Force appears to leave the door open for the potential reactivation of the B-1B in the future to continue its border-crossing missions. However, the decision to retire one of the most powerful bomber aircraft has sent a negative signal to potential adversaries. It implies that Washington is preparing to field even more powerful bomber aircraft. Currently, Northrop Grumman is producing the next-generation B-21 Raider to replace the B-1B Lancer. While there is no disclosure of the new bomber's first test flight date, the U.S. Air Force expects to field these aircraft between 2025 and 2027. The B-21 Raider is rumored to be a versatile aircraft with the potential to carry out missions beyond conventional bombing, such as launching underwater torpedoes during conflicts. If flown at 10 kilometers, they could travel up to 64 kilometers, dive into the ocean, and then pierce enemy ships without being detected. If the B-21 becomes a stealth bomber, it could penetrate areas where other aircraft cannot, dropping bombs and neutralizing enemy naval forces, potentially forcing adversaries to move their fleets further away, or even blocking certain offshore routes, making them vulnerable to carefully prepared U.S. counterattacks. In conclusion, with rapid production and technological superiority, the B-21 Raider appears to be the B-1B Lancer's designated successor. As someone interested in military technology, it's intriguing to see how these new aircraft will shape the modern military landscape, with a focus on stealth, versatility, and long-range capabilities. The B-1B Lancer has had a storied history and will continue to be a vital part of the U.S. Air Force until its replacement is ready to take over its duties.